Hey guys, thank you so much for stopping by the garden today. I just want to do a little update for you on my baby propagated succulents. So we propagated succulents from leaves, which is pretty awesome that they do that. You can see we have a couple with leaves on them, and then the ones that were ready without the leaves we transplanted into this big shallow bowl. We have a lot more to do here. So we have some on the side that we've done. I transplanted them into their own little containers here. And then we have a lot on our stand here. Let me step back a little bit. We're gonna fix that powder puff over there. We didn't propagate that one on the far right on the bottom, but we're gonna fix that for you. We're gonna do another video. We're gonna fix our stretched out succulent. These are all our babies that we're gonna be transplanting into this big bowl because they're ready. You can see how big they are. So we're gonna get all these transplanted in this big bowl right here. What's left is these California sunsets. I just have to wait for the soil to dry out. You don't wanna really transplant when your soil's wet, but you wanna give a nice watering before you go ahead and transplant. You wanna let that soil dry out all the way after you water thoroughly, and then you can go ahead and transplant once your soil is dry, which we've done here. And you just wanna tuck them in until you see, that they're snuggled in enough. Let's go down a little close here, and you can see that they're not covered up to, the leaves. You want to cover them up to the leaves, but you don't want to bury the leaves. You want to cover them right up to where those leaves start. You can see that stem right there. So that's perfect. And we have a couple in here that are tiny, a couple that are big. We're just going to keep transplanting. We're going to let this big bowl rock out with a bunch of different types of succulents. So I can't wait for this to fill in and show you guys that little update. But for now, with the watering, you might notice that these succulent babies need a little more water. It's summertime here in Florida. We're in June. It is Central Florida, Zone 9B here. So my watering schedule is going to be so much different than yours because we have a lot of humidity, a lot of rain, and a lot of excessive heat over 90. So these succulents are sucking up and using a lot of their water, especially the little babies. Now the bigger ones, they're more drought tolerant. Like this powder puff right here, they're a lot more drought tolerant, like our other big ones as well. So you want to watch the watering on those. You might need more frequent waterings on the bigger ones, but not as much as these little ones. These little ones, I have to water maybe for my climate, it's like once every other day. The big ones, I'm watering like every 2 to 3 days. And that's all going to depend on what type of climate you're in. Do you have humidity in your climate? Do you have a lot of rain going on? Are they in a nice potting soil with lots of drainage and lots of sandy mix, with wood chips in there? How fast is your soil drying out? How many succulents do you have in that pot? And how big that succulent is, because the bigger the succulent is, the more water they're going to suck up, but the less frequent waterings they're going to need because they're really drought tolerant at that point, which is that guy right there. We have a lot of big ones that we propagated. I want to show you some updates on the little Graptapetalums we propagated, so let's go take a look. These little Graptapetalum Paraguayenses were so tiny in another pot, and what I did was I just transplanted them into one pot by themselves, a bunch of little babies in there, because these are trailing succulents. I put all the same in one container. Now I like to do that because they grow the same, same succulents in the same container is just a great idea, because then you don't have to worry about, does this one need water? Is this one lacking water? They're all the same watering schedule, which this big guy right here on the left was that small to begin with, and he grew and grew. We just transplanted him a while ago. I'll show you that video. I'll post it below so you can see how much this one has grown. This little guy right here, he has grown so big since that last video we did before we transplanted, and that is the magnificence of terracotta pots and transplanting your little babies when they get big enough, so this way they have room to spread. Those babies just got in this little container, so it's going to be a while before we have to transplant them, but they can stay in here another couple of months. We just have to watch the watering. These are going to need a little bit more water than the bigger ones because they're still small. They don't have a lot of water storage yet, just like those 3 little echeverias right there. Those are going to need more water than those big little guys right there. That's the same type of echeveria. So those are going to need less water than the ones we just seen because they're bigger and they're more established with a bigger root system. So the watering is all going to depend on the type of climate you have, what type of succulent you have, and that's why I kind of transplant the same succulents in the same container with each other. I'd like to showcase them alone because then I know, I learn better from them. What type of watering requirements do you like? Do you like more water? Do you like less water? The bigger the leaves, the less water they're going to need. Let's go up top and take a look at some others. We've been transplanting quite a bit, and I love the terracotta because your roots can breathe and the soil dries out a a lot faster than in plastic. The roots don't stay hot. Since we have 90-degree temps and above, terracotta really helps to keep the roots cool compared to the plastic pots. Plastic gets really hot really quick, especially black. So here in Florida, I know terracotta is the best way to go. Let's jump back inside and just go over some little watering tips and some sunlight tips on little propagated succulents. These little guys were propagated a while ago, and they've just been filling out this pot. I've been sticking more babies in here. Those little pork and beans in the middle there, these little green ones, they were actually rotted out and dying. And guess what? They came back. So we got nice little pork and bean succulents. We have our echeverias, we have some jades in here. We're putting ones that we fixed in here, which is that little guy right there. He was actually losing roots, and look, we got him to come back, and look at the root system on him now. He was all rotted out. And that's why I have a lot of perlite in here for sensitive succulents, and just so they don't get overwatered. I can use this as like a little recouping tray. And then, you know, a lot of these were like that, and they've turned into these big guys. So you just have to watch that watering, you guys. Get to know your succulents. Put the same succulents in the same container. Showcase them alone if you have to. And then for baby succulents, you know, these are big ones. So let's go back over to the babies. These big ones are going to need less watering than the little ones. The little babies are going to need more watering. You can see this is a nice established pot. They're really big. They're getting huge, these shades. It's just getting so heavy now. And these were rotted out a while ago, so we fixed these, and they've just been rocking out. Look how big they are. So I'm so happy about that, you guys. And the bigger they are, the bigger the leaves are, the less water they're going to need. Take a look at our little baby succulents again. Go back over there. Okay, so these little babies are hen and chicks. They are actually Separabibum hen and chicks. They're Bulgaria and, what's the other one? Hedgehog. So I took them off because they fell off. They were really loose in the pot with when I transplanted them. They were babies I had just got. So what we did was we planted them up. Now these little guys aren't going to need much water because look, they don't have much roots on them yet. They're growing roots, but they don't have much on them yet. So what I do is I put them in a little pot like this. Just snuggle them down, and then I wait to water about, let's see, it's all going to depend, you guys. You know, when I say water, that's all going to depend on what your climate's doing, what your succulents are doing. So you have to pay attention to them as much as you can and learn about what they need in your type of environment. I know my environment, I don't have to water that for about a good 3 days, 4 days. Then I know I can water again. We're going to have nice root system on them. At least a little bit of a root system on them. And we don't have to soak the pot all the way through at this point because you can see how tiny those roots are, and it's going to take a long time for this pot to dry out. So what I do is I water halfway through for about a couple weeks, and then I back off and water all the way through to the bottom. I water infrequently, but I water all the way through to the bottom once they get established. These little babies, the same thing. They stay in indirect, bright sunlight. They get about 4 hours at night of sun, and that's it. Right before the sun goes down, that's all the sun they've been getting, and they're doing pretty good. We're going to start having to acclimate these in full sun at least 6 hours soon because they are getting really big, these babies. But at that little propagation stage, like at this point, they are still in indirect sunlight. That is where they stay. They're in indirect bright light. That sun does not come in the lanai over here during the day. It stops right at the end of that lanai there. So we know they're getting really, really bright light, and they're going to be okay. And just adjust the watering to your needs in your environment, you guys. It's so hard to tell you when to water and how much, because that's something you kind of have to figure out yourself when you start planting with succulents. We can only give you like a basic guide on how to take care of them, but you won't really know what to do until you're actually getting in there down and dirty into your succulents. So just remember, keep an eye on that watering. Make sure they have roots before you go ahead and water if you are propagating your succulents. We have little thimble cacti in here too we just transplanted, which I just laid them on the soil because they popped off, and look, we have roots. So that's how easy they are to take care of. And I know these Separabibums don't really need much water, just like the cacti, so that's why I put them in the same pot together. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you have any questions on propagating your little succulent babies, let me know. I'm always here for you, and I love what I do. I love helping you. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time out in the garden. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.